When you stop contacting a man, you are not just giving him room to breathe. In his mind, it can feel like the floor moved. A lot of people think he feels free, relaxed, even happy. They think he got exactly what he wanted. No pressure, no more messages, no more attention to answer. But that is not always what happens inside him. The truth is usually more layered, more human, and far less calm than people pretend. When a man gets used to your attention and then it suddenly disappears, his mind has to deal with a change he did not prepare for. It does not always feel like peace. Sometimes it feels like confusion. Sometimes it feels like loss. Sometimes it feels like a quiet kind of panic he cannot explain. And that matters because most people talk about silence in dating like it is some simple move. They say if you go quiet, he will either chase or disappear. End of story. But real silence does more than test action. It changes the way he feels about you, about himself, and about what was happening between you both. So stay with me because this is where it gets interesting. If you understand what happens in his head when your attention is gone, you start to see the difference between real connection and someone who only liked how you made him feel. And once you see that clearly, you cannot unsee it. Before getting into the deeper patterns, you have to understand what his mind is reacting to. Your attention may have become part of his normal day without him even realizing it. A message from you, your name on his phone, the easy feeling of knowing someone is thinking about him. Those small things seem light on the surface, but the brain notices them. It records them. It starts to expect them. When those moments stop, the brain does not just shrug and move on. It notices the gap. It notices the silence. It notices that something familiar is gone. He could be at work and suddenly check his phone without meaning to. He could be with friends and still feel that something is missing. He may not even say your name in his own mind, but the shift is there. Part of him feels that empty space and keeps scanning for an answer. And because many men are taught to ignore emotion, not study it, not name it, he often does not know what he is reacting to. He just feels off, irritated, restless, distracted, maybe a little low for no clear reason. That is what makes this powerful. He is not always choosing to think about you. Sometimes his brain is simply reacting to the loss of a source of comfort, attention, and certainty. And the less he understands that, the more it unsettles him. Keep listening because this is where the quiet starts to do much more than people think. Another part of this is control. While you were still reaching out, he may have felt like he had the upper hand without ever saying it out loud. He could reply when he wanted. He could lean in a little, then pull back a little. He could decide the pace. That feeling of control matters more than most people admit. It makes a person feel steady. It makes them feel chosen without having to risk much. But when you stop contacting him, that balance changes fast. Now he is not the one managing the rhythm. You are. You are the one deciding not to reach out. You are the one creating the space. And when that happens, the mind often starts pushing for answers. Should he text? Should he wait? Is this serious? Is it over? Did something change? What does this mean? All of that can start spinning in his head because the situation no longer feels predictable. He may hate the fact that he cannot control what happens next. He cannot make you message him. He cannot force you to be available. He cannot quietly rely on your attention while pretending it is not important. And that shift can bother him more than he expected. It is not always because he is deeply in love. Sometimes it is because people do not like losing access to something that made them feel secure. And if he built part of his confidence around being able to keep your attention with little effort, your silence can shake him harder than he would ever admit. There is also the ego part, and this one runs deep. When a woman gives a man attention, especially over time, his ego can start using that attention as proof that he is attractive, proof that he still has it, proof that women want him. It becomes quiet validation. He may never say that out loud. He may even act like your interest is no big deal. but inside, those little signs can feed the story he tells himself about his own value. So when you stop contacting him, it is not only your messages that vanish. That steady stream of proof vanishes too. And once that happens, his ego can react fast. He may start replaying moments between you, looking for the point where something changed. He may ask himself what he did wrong. He may wonder if he lost his charm, if he came across as boring, if he misread everything. That is not always because he wants to build something real with you. Sometimes it is because losing your attention feels like losing evidence that he is still desired. And when that evidence disappears, insecurity speaks louder. He may suddenly feel the need to prove that other women still want him. He may notice attention from others more than before. He may think about old connections. He may start posting more, checking reactions more, or trying in subtle ways to see if he still gets noticed. This is not confidence. It is often the opposite. It is a mind trying to patch an ego bruise without fully admitting the bruise is there. And here is something else most people miss. When a man does not know why you pulled back, his brain starts creating stories. That is what people do when they do not have an answer. The mind hates a blank space. It wants a reason. It wants a narrative. It wants to close the loop. So if you stop contacting him and give no explanation, his mind may begin filling that silence with its own script. Maybe she got bored. Maybe I was not interesting enough. Maybe she found someone better. Maybe I moved too slow. Maybe I came on too strong. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe she saw something in me that made her lose respect. These thoughts can come fast, and once they start, they can build on each other. He may go back through conversations and suddenly read them in a darker way. A delayed reply from you that meant nothing becomes, in his memory, a warning sign. A small change in tone becomes proof that interest was fading. One awkward message becomes the reason for everything. This is how the mind protects itself while also hurting itself. It wants an answer, but without facts, it often creates answers that attack self-worth. And because many men do not talk openly about this kind of thing, those stories stay inside. They do not get challenged. They do not get softened by another perspective. They just sit there, repeating. And the more often he repeats them, the more real they begin to feel. One common story his mind creates is that he simply was not enough, not funny enough, not exciting enough, not deep enough, not attractive enough. That is one of the fastest places the brain goes when attention disappears. He may start comparing himself to imaginary men who do not even exist. Some perfect guy who is smoother, more successful, more confident, more interesting, more everything. And once that comparison starts, it can quietly poison the way he sees himself. This is where things can become bigger than just you. Because once a person starts feeling less valuable in one connection, that feeling can leak into the rest of life. He may feel less sure of himself in social situations, less relaxed at work, less natural with other women. A silence that began with one person can become a mirror that reflects every doubt he was already trying to keep hidden. And that is why what happens in his head can feel so intense. It is not only about losing contact, it is about what that loss appears to say about him. Keep going with me because this next part matters. If his mind decides your silence means he is lacking in some way, he may start changing how he behaves in future situations too. He may hold back more. He may act colder. He may try harder to seem detached. He may become less honest and more guarded, all because of a story his own brain wrote in the absence of clear truth. Then there is the deeper issue of powerlessness. This is different from simple disappointment. When you stop contacting him, he may feel like he can no longer direct the situation. He cannot predict it. He cannot guide it. He cannot manage it with timing, distance, or charm. That feeling of not being able to do anything can be deeply uncomfortable. For a lot of men, helplessness is one of the hardest feelings to sit with. So what does the mind do? It starts trying to regain control somewhere, anywhere. He may overthink every option. He may draft messages in his head and never send them. He may check his phone again and again, not because he expects magic, but because checking feels like action. It gives the illusion of doing something. He may become more controlling in other parts of life too, more rigid with plans, more impatient with people, more intense at work. Sometimes when someone feels powerless in one area, they push harder in another just to feel strong again. That is the hidden spillover effect. It is no longer just about whether you texted him. It becomes about whether he still feels capable, steady, and in command of himself. And if he ties masculinity too closely to control, your silence can hit a sensitive place. It can make him feel exposed, not only rejected, but weakened. That is why some men act strangely after you pull back. It is not always because they understand what they feel. Often, it is because they do not understand it and are trying to outrun it. Now, here is where the mind plays one of its biggest tricks. The moment you become less available, your value in his head can rise. Not because you changed, not because you suddenly became a different person, but because scarcity changes perception. When something is easy to access, people often treat it like background noise, familiar, safe, ordinary. But when that same thing disappears, the mind starts to upgrade it. Suddenly, what felt normal starts to feel rare. What felt casual starts to feel important. This is why a man can begin seeing you as more special after you stop contacting him than he ever did while you were still there. His mind may start remembering the connection in a brighter light. Conversations become more meaningful in memory. Your energy feels more unique in hindsight. Moments he barely noticed before now feel charged with meaning. It is not always that he discovered your worth. Sometimes it is simply that losing access forced his brain to re-rank you. And once that happens, regret can grow. He may start telling himself he should have valued you more. He may believe he missed something important. He may even create a version of you in his mind that is more perfect than the real you ever was. That is what absence can do. It can turn ordinary reality into polished memory. It can take a half-built connection and make it feel like a lost chance at something huge. When that value shift happens, desire can grow fast. Not always because the bond was deep, but because unavailability creates hunger. This is one of the hardest truths to accept. Sometimes a person does not fully want what is right in front of them, but the moment it pulls away, wanting begins. He may suddenly think about you more. He may compare other women to you. He may imagine that what you two had was stronger than it really was. He may start building fantasies around what could have happened if he had done things differently. In those fantasies, the missed connection becomes beautiful. The imagined future becomes rich. The feeling becomes bigger than the facts ever were. And that is why silence can be so revealing. It shows whether his interest grows from real care or from the shock of losing access. If he only starts valuing you once you are unavailable, that does not always mean he is ready for something real. It may simply mean his brain is reacting to scarcity. Stay with this point. It is a big one. A man who truly sees your value does not need to lose you first in order to notice what is in front of him. If he only wakes up when the door starts closing, then a lot of what he feels may be more about panic, ego, and missed comfort than genuine emotional depth. This also explains why some men suddenly want your approval more after you go quiet. While you were there, he may have acted relaxed, slow, even careless. But once you stop, your opinion can begin to matter more to him than before. He may start wanting you to see him as desirable, successful, and unaffected. He may want you to believe he is doing great. He may want to prove that you were wrong to pull back. And hidden inside that urge is a simple truth. Your silence made him feel seen in a way he did not enjoy. It exposed where he relied on your attention. It exposed where he was uncertain. It exposed where he was more fragile than he liked to believe. So now part of him wants to rewrite the story. He wants to become the one who looks powerful again. He wants to feel chosen again. He wants to win back the image of himself that got damaged when your messages stopped. That is why the behavior after silence can tell you so much. Does he come toward you with clarity and honesty? Or does he circle around with pride, mixed signals, and a strong need to prove something? The way he reacts is a window into what was really driving him all along. Because a person grounded in real feeling usually moves differently from a person whose ego got shaken. And this is where you begin to see the 4 deeper patterns together. First, his ego gets hit and starts looking for proof that he is still wanted. Second, his brain writes stories about why you stopped, and those stories often make him the problem. Third, his sense of control gets shaken, and that power loss spreads into the way he feels about life in general. Fourth, your value rises in his mind because what is no longer available suddenly feels rare. Put those together and you can understand why a man who looked completely fine on the surface might start acting very differently after silence. He may not tell anyone what is going on. He may not even admit it to himself clearly, but the shift is real. It is mental, it is emotional, it is physical too, because stress changes the body. That is why someone can become restless, obsessive, defensive, moody, or strangely performative after losing access to attention they had started to count on. And this is exactly why you should not confuse all reactions with love. Not every strong response means deep care. Not every pursuit means emotional maturity. Not every return means readiness. Sometimes it simply means the silence touched insecurity that had been hidden while everything felt easy and predictable. So what does all of this tell you? It tells you that when you stop contacting a man, you do not just learn what he feels about you. You learn what kind of inner world he has. You see whether he can handle uncertainty with steadiness, or whether he falls into panic, pride, and self-protection. You see whether he reaches out in a calm and genuine way, or whether his behavior starts to look like a reaction to losing control. You see whether he respects space or tries to break it only because his comfort got disturbed. And that matters more than people think, because a solid man does not collapse just because attention changes. He notices, he may care, he may even reach out, but he does not unravel into chaos. He does not suddenly turn you into a perfect fantasy because you became unavailable. He does not need to rebuild his whole worth around getting your focus back. Real interest has a different energy. It is more stable, more respectful, more honest. It is not built only on validation or access. So if you want real clarity, watch the response, not just the words. Watch the tone, watch the timing, watch whether his actions come from sincerity or from discomfort. Because when you stop reaching out, what rises to the surface is not just his interest, it is his character under pressure. And maybe that is the biggest lesson in all of this. Silence does not create the truth, it reveals it. It shows whether he was connected to you or connected to the feeling of being wanted by you. It shows whether he can handle not being in control. It shows whether his confidence is real or mostly borrowed from attention. And it shows whether he values you as a person or only starts valuing you when you are no longer easy to reach. That is why this moment matters so much. It is not about playing games. It is not about trying to trick someone into chasing. It is about watching what happens when comfort is removed and the mirror gets clear. Because in that moment, the polished version disappears. What remains is the deeper pattern. And that pattern tells you almost everything you need to know. If he responds with calm, honesty, and respect, that says one thing. If he spirals into ego, fear, control, and fantasy, that says another. Either way, you get information you did not have before. And once you see it, you can make better choices with your time, your energy, and your heart. That is the real power here. Not making him miss you, not making him chase. Seeing clearly, choosing clearly, and refusing to confuse a strong reaction with a strong foundation.